So we're going to see downed trees. We're going to see flooding. We're going to see power outages. So please, please do not let your guard down now. Let's remain vigilant. Hurricane Ian is going to visit the Tampa Bay area later this evening, and we will keep you posted as we go through the day. We are continuing with our services, providing anything that our community needs. If there is information that you need, please go to our website, tampagov.net slash hurricane. All the information is there. We also have the hotlines. Our call center is up and running. So we are still here for you and your needs. But again, those who have left the Zone A, please do not go back. This is not over. And then those who haven't left, we're still looking at flooding. So please heed the warnings and everybody be safe out there. Now I'd like to call up our Fire Chief and Emergency Manager, Barbara Tripp.
Good morning. Fire Chief Barbara Tripp, Tampa Fire Rescue Emergency Management. As the Mayor has stated, we're still not out of the woods. Just a couple of safety things that I would like to talk about as we prepare for the post of the storm. Currently, we do have some weather stations that's located throughout the city of Tampa. And what happened with those weather stations, we are advised of the wind gusts. So in case of an emergency, first responders would not be able to respond once those wind gusts get up to a certain miles per hour. So we're asking
Jeff Baradelli.
safety first responders. We also want to talk about generators. As we know, usually whenever a storm comes through, we will possibly have power outage. In a situation like that, a lot of families have generators. Generators should be operated outside of your home, not inside, and it should not be started until after the storm is over. If you have any questions or need additional information about the safety of generators, please visit tampa.gov/hurricane. That's tampa.gov/hurricane to get additional information.
Mic on.
Now, because you don't have any power, a lot of families might light candles. Once again, that is a safety hazard. So you need to be extremely cautious.
Looks like
if
Charlie's
you
cam went
decide
down.
to use candles. If you have a fire extinguisher, please make sure that is at hand. Make sure it's available for you. Don't go out in the weather to get a fire extinguisher. So if you have one, make sure you have one handy and make sure you use it appropriately. Once again, if you have any questions about emergency services, please visit tampa.gov/hurricane. Now I bring up the Police Chief, Mary O'Connor.
Thank you, Chief Tripp, Mayor Castor. Good afternoon, everybody. Just a couple of things. I just want to reiterate what has already been said, that we are not out of the woods. We are going to see some significant flooding in the Tampa Bay area. As far as vehicles are concerned, I really strongly recommend that our residents try not to take your vehicles out and venture out. We need our officers and our first responders being available and ready to assist our residents in time of crisis and not get stuck in water. It only takes 6 inches of water to reach the bottom of most vehicles. So if you are driving around in 6 inches of water or more, you may get stuck, and then we may have to come and help you out. Our shelters are still open. There are numerous shelters located throughout Hillsborough County. Tampa PD has been actively shuttling numerous homeless individuals to shelters this morning. Shelters are still open, but residents are encouraged at some point, once the wind speeds do reach higher gusts.
Bottom right is Nate Schneider. There's the link.
To just stay and shelter in
yourself.
Place. Last thing I just want to mention, as I talked about yesterday with the enhanced property crime penalties, in the event you are charged with a burglary or a theft, if it's a second-degree felony, it'll be increased to a first degree. If it's a third-degree felony, it'll be increased to a second. Tampa PD did make 2 arrests last night. We responded to the IKEA off of Adamo Drive to an alarm call, and we did locate 2 individuals in the parking lot that were loitering in the parking lot. They had numerous burglary tools in their possession. walkie-talkies, flashlights. It appeared they were
So survival
definitely
gear.
planning on doing something at the IKEA. They were charged accordingly. So I just want to reiterate that property crimes are serious. Do not even think of preying on the vulnerability of our residents that may have evacuated. Tampa PD is here, ready and willing to assist if anybody needs it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all for coming in. Drop me a follow
All
if you
right. Does
will.
anybody have any
I
questions?
usually stream games like World of
Okay.
Warships, Star
All
Citizen,
right. Thank you all. Much
but
appreciated.
with family and friends in Florida and the severity of the
Coming up
Hurricane
as we
Ian,
head towards sundown tonight,
I'm live
we're really
streaming
going
a
to be
bunch of
added
various
into the
sources. So
So that was an
hopefully
update
it's
from the
informative
mayor
and
of
helps out.
Tampa
Feel
as
free
we
to
do
chat,
see
drop
Hurricane
a follow.
Ian, the eye wall, starting to move on
Say
south
hi.
to Florida. It's happening, of course, over in the Fort Myers, Cape Coral area, Lee County. The actual landfall itself is expected to be around Sanibel Island. As of the 11 a.m. update, the storm is a Category 4 with wind speeds of 155 miles per hour, moving north-northeast
Mic
at
off.
15 miles per hour. I do want to tap back into our Fox 35 Orlando coverage as they break down the path of the storm and what to expect.
Jamie, thanks. Just to let you know what is going on right now, the governor is going to speak at 1 o'clock. That'll be in the state emergency office. Certainly, they're monitoring right now as Ian is coming ashore. We're also waiting on Orange County. They're going to have a press conference soon talking about that plan as they prepare now for Ian to move into Central Florida.
We did hear from Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer yesterday, who said that the city of Orlando is under a state of emergency. He even offered that anybody who wants to move their car into one of the city parking garages, you can do that for free all the way through Friday just to keep your car protected and safe.
Yeah, as they're expecting some very strong winds as this moves for sure. Let's take things to Tampa now. Of course, we were watching that earlier today. That's where we find Dave Puglisi.
Yeah, Dave was showing us something kind of eerie about the water there in the bay, Dave, and is that the energy from Ian really just sort of sucking all of the water out and showing residents something they haven't seen before, which is the bottom of the bay.
Yeah, that's for sure, Amy. Actually, we'll give you a view of that thing. As you can see, it's being sucked out, and those two very large islands that are now appeared out here in the bay. And what's
Mic on.
about this part, this is the Hillsborough
Wow,
Bay,
this is such a trip.
Borders along Bayshore Boulevard and Davis Island. That out there in the distance is the Gulf. So this is a pretty deep part of the bay, and it's gone. Now down the other way, you can see that there are a lot of you can see how much water has gone down all the way up through into the more narrow part of the bay as it kind of starts to go through downtown Tampa. We're also seeing the rain kind of kick up here again. Rain hasn't been so much of a factor here yet. The big thing has been the winds, and the winds have really started to increase over the last probably about 10-15 minutes. We're getting some pretty strong, significant gusts that are causing some problems, which is why Hillsborough County has put out some information to have cars get off the road. Now, we're going to wrap things up here in Tampa Bay, but let's go back to the station where Orange County is about to start a press conference. Back to you guys.
All right, Dave. Yes, we are waiting for that. Thank you.
And right now, let's get back on the roads as well. I was just outside looking at I-4, and it's still a little busier than you would expect. You'd expect not much traffic.
I'm going to
There is
switch
a little
back
traffic.
audio to
Check with Amanda. She's been
WFLA.
watching I-4.
This I've never seen before. Can we get next graphic? Okay, what you're looking at here is Port Manatee in Tampa Bay. Where you see this red line, that's where water levels have gone down. As of about an hour ago, they were down about 5 feet from where they were. The prediction is for the water to drop 11 feet in this area. Now, Tampa Bay, on average, is only 6 feet deep. So some of the deeper channels, obviously, is where the fish are going to have to
keep
be.
Those water levels.
Yeah.
But yeah, that average of 6 feet, there's going to be a lot of land exposed. And I know we do have some breaking weather news right now. We have a tornado warning issued for
Highlands County. There you see it popping up right there. So it's just south of Sebring. You can see sort of in that rain band. We've been talking about this for quite some time, where you could actually see sort of the cycling around of these rain bands around the center of circulation. There you can see it. There you can see it. So
we're going to bring up velocity in a second or two.
So again, we've been talking about these rain bands, the strong.
Okay, so that is east of Sarasota,
a hurricane like this, and that they
Sebring,
always have the potential of creating
Fort Meade.
Tornadoes at any point. So we're going to look at the velocity of this, and I'll kind of make my way over toward the crumble wall, so you can see a little. So I can kind of give you a little better look at what exactly I'm talking about. So anytime you see The bright green colors, of course, that means winds going toward the radar. And the red is the winds going away from the radar. So what we're looking at here, right, what we call a couplet. So they're right next to each other. So think about if winds are going in one direction and then right next to it going in the opposite direction. What happens between that is a twist. And what can happen from that is a tornado. So again, this expires this Saturday about 12:15. So we've got about a 30-minute window here where this is going to come out of Highlands County. So basically Highlands County, it's out of your area. It's crossing now into DeSoto and may sneak its way into the southeastern portion of Hardee County. But again, the circulation is right here, and that would make sense because remember, with those rain bands, everything is moving from southeast to northwest in a counterclockwise spin. So that's why the tornado warning, where the spin up happened, was in the western portion of Highlands County. But now that has cycled into, will eventually into Hardee and DeSoto counties. And this has already been happening across South Florida all morning long, even across eastern portion of Florida. So as you see those rain bands moving from southeast to northwest, they can have a lot of rotation in them. This is what max defender rate, we told you this would be a tool that we would use all day long. First for analyzing the eye wall, and of course for the rainfall and the amounts of rainfall, but also what's happening in those rain bands, and that's what this rotation is that you're seeing all along that. This is a max defender rates analysis of where we're seeing spins in the atmosphere, and that whole system is actually going to kind of move to the. It's hard to get a track on it because it's going to move north and then eventually sort of back to the west because it's all moving in a cycle like that, a counterclockwise fashion. But we are seeing that tornado warning that's going now into effect until about 12:15, specifically as we head on into Hardee County.
Yeah, so nope, you go for it, Jeff.
Tornado warnings inside of hurricanes. Everything is around the spiral bands of the outer bands of the storm. And so everything moves really, really, really quickly. So if we can, Amanda, if we can put it back on velocity mode and then get a tracker on it, it's going to be moving northwest right here. There it is. That is the potential tornado right there. And again, it's moving so fast. So there we go. Just to give you an idea of how. Now, obviously, it's never going to get here. It is just simply never going to get that far. But Sweetwater, 11:55, and Buchanan at 12:01, Moffett at 12:03. And Ona at 12:13. So these are the areas that could very well be affected. So, of course, that's Highlands County. That's Hardee and DeSoto County. So watch out in places like Wauchula and Zolfo Springs. If you live near there, that's where we have this tornado warning in effect, and it's moving to the northwest. There's no telling if it's going to get past this box you see right here. If it does, the National Weather Service will extend that box. But, Amanda, while we're here, why don't we sample some of the winds close to the eye of the storm, because it's pretty amazing. So yeah, we can sample those winds too if you want first, but I imagine we're not going to see that they're extraordinarily strong. However, with all that said, it's not just the winds of the tornado, it's the winds also of the velocity at which these storms are kind of rotating around. So those are some really strong winds. We don't typically see, when we sample on the radar here in Florida, winds of 70 miles an hour or so. Can we zoom in a little more, Amanda? I want to see if we can see any kind of it is storm relative, so we should be able to see opposing winds if in fact they exist right now. But because this cell is embedded in such strong spiral bands, you almost have to take the 70-mile-an-hour winds and then add it to however fast the band is rotating at about 45 miles an hour, let's say. You add it together, and the winds within this tornado could very well be over 100 to 120 miles an hour, just to give you an idea of how strong these winds could potentially be. There's one couplet there. There's another one right there. I do wonder if the National Weather Service is going to issue another tornado warning. So originally, they probably issued it for this guy, but there's another one developing right here in Highlands County. So, folks, we have two developing tornadoes, only one tornado warning, but two developing tornadoes. Amanda, would you agree with me on this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why I sampled the other couplet as well. So we're looking at those two areas right there. That's where we're seeing kind of the reds and the greens next to each other. Certainly two areas of rotation where a tornado could be on the ground.
You know, just for the control room, you can take Amanda or a double box with both of us at the same time if you want at any time. We are both ready to go on the air and talk about this together as well. So again, this is moving at 45 miles an hour to the northwest. So this will get to Zolfo Springs and Wauchula like that. It's going to happen very fast. Within 5 or 10 minutes, these couplets you see, these rotations, will be right there, right along 17 and 64. Not quite there yet. So I think what we should do, Amanda, is zoom back out and go back down to the storm, because obviously the storm's going to be making landfall in just a couple of hours, and sample some of the winds here. So some of the strongest winds are right there in the deep shades, and also on the eastern side of the storm in blue, just to give you an idea of how strong the winds are. Now, of course, this is up in the atmosphere. It's not at the surface when we sample these winds. We're sampling them above the ground, but you can see the eastern side of the eye wall winds up to about 110 miles an hour, and the western side of the eye wall, we've been talking about this. The strongest winds with this storm are on the northwestern side. This is clearly where the biggest winds are. So as this storm comes on shore in places like Boca Grande, up towards Englewood, and south towards Sanibel and Captiva, it's the second side of the storm, the western side of the eye wall after the calm. This is going to likely be where the strongest wind gusts are as this storm comes ashore. The eastern side has hurricane force winds. This is the more destructive side. And Amanda, you know, I can't remember a storm that is so lopsided like this in terms of the western side being so much stronger than the eastern side. And not only that, the fact is that most of the heavy rain is going to be in a band right here along the track of the storm and to the northwest of the storm, which is why we are concerned here in the Bay Area about a lot of those 15-plus inch rain totals getting into parts of our area.
On radar where those deeper reds are, those heavier rains and those stronger winds on that northern and western side. I mean, on the southern side, and I can zoom out here for us, we can see there's not a whole lot of rain on the southern side, a little bit, but as soon as this storm passes off to the north, we're going to dry out very quickly on the southern side. But that's why we say everywhere to the north and to the west of this center, we're going to see a lot of rain. We've been talking about the localized flooding threat because, yeah, 10 to 15 inches widespread are not out of the question, upwards of 20 inches for localized areas, and we've got very saturated grounds.
Yeah, and actually when we're looking at the composition of that eye wall right now, you can see it is interacting with land because before we were seeing that yellow go a concentric circle all the way around the eye itself. But now on that southeastern side, we're starting to see less of the bright reds and yellows and more of the greens. And again, that's because the eastern side of this eye wall is already beginning to interact with landfall, with land around the Sanibel Island area, around Fort Myers communities. And that's disrupting it a little bit, but that also means those are the communities dealing with a landfalling Category 4 hurricane that's on the cusp of being a Category 5. So we're really feeling for our friends down there.
Absolutely. And I just put on a measurement here. Northport, the strongest winds, we just queried some on both sides of these, but I tell you what, we've got very strong winds occurring in this section right here, and they're just 20 miles from Northport now. You figure the storm is moving about 10 miles per hour. So you've got maybe an hour and a half to where you are really going to need to hunker down, and that's when I expect that extreme wind warning to be issued for Sarasota County.
And I know we've had our reporter Jack Royer in Northport, and he says every time the rain comes around, it gets a little worse, and that's because as the rain bands get closer to that eye wall, it gets worse. And they've already just
winds
gone
are picking
through
up
the last basically rain
in
band
Siesta Key.
in Northport before the eye wall is going to make it to them.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah. No. I just got some new information. We've seen 1,000 lightning strikes detected in the eye wall of Ian. 1,000 lightning strikes. Typically, oftentimes hurricanes and tropical storms have very little lightning in the core. Very little. When we see lightning, we know it's an intensifying storm. When we see 1,000 strikes of lightning in the eye wall, well, that's something I've never seen before, folks. Just to give you an idea of how intense this is. And of course, a lot of that lightning happening on the northern side. That's right, the northeastern side. So Amanda was just talking about it. This is one of the more intense parts of the storm, and especially the southwestern side of the storm. That's where all the lightning is concentrated, not on the east side of the storm. So again, with this storm coming on shore right about here, So obviously this is the Boca Grande area, and there's Captiva Island and Sanibel Island right there. With it coming on shore right here, the strongest winds do go into southern parts of our viewing area, and that's what Amanda was just telling you. Picture it going in this direction. Hurricane force winds extend out to about here, and we can show you that they cut right through the southern half of Sarasota County. But Sarasota itself will likely see hurricane force wind gusts as well. Guys, can we go back to this tornado warning? I want to see if the National Weather Service has issued another tornado warning on that. They haven't. I'm surprised.
See if they're going to let it expire at 12:15 or if they're going to reissue it for it. But it looks like a lot of it has weakened.
I just have a feeling that they feel like this tornado warning encompasses both that one, and likely it does, because this one's right on the edge. Whether or not these are weak enough such that there may not be a tornado, I have to say when couplets like this or rotations like this are embedded in a storm that is spinning so fast, I doubt you would see quite the rotation in a localized area that you would see on a typical day around here. So I think to be on the safe side, at this point, they should keep this tornado warning going. And again, moving northwest at 45 miles an hour means that look how close it is at this point to Wauchula. So there are two cells. Both of them have the chance of producing a tornado around here in this particular area. And we're going to continue to see this all afternoon. As these bands ride further and further north, the threat for tornadoes will move into Hillsborough County. It'll obviously move into Polk County. And a little bit less of a threat as it heads closer to the coast, obviously. But there's still the threat of tornadoes really from Tampa eastward. And there's nothing to say that this couldn't be rotated around. But those really heavy bands now are moving into Bradenton, especially Sarasota, and very soon southern parts of Sarasota County around Englewood, and places like Northport, as Amanda was telling you about. We're going to have those hurricane force winds move in, and they are going to be gusting past 100 miles an hour.
It could come even sooner, and could come even sooner for places like in Punta Gorda, and along the Lee County, Charlotte County coastlines.
Yeah, and we've got reporters all over. So I do believe we have a reporter right now, Jeff Patterson, in Punta Gorda.
Yeah, good morning. As a matter of fact, we are in downtown Punta Gorda. We've been here all morning just kind of observing. I'll have to tell you, we are in a very secure location, a very substantial concrete parking garage, but it gives us a really excellent vantage point over downtown Punta Gorda. I can tell you I was here in 2004 during Hurricane Charlie, and I saw just how bad a major hurricane can be. As a matter of fact, there are some condominiums in the distance there. I recall being there just after the storm. There were some people who were just in shock after their condominium had kind of blown apart around them. They have now rebuilt those. They look great, but they are right on the edge of the Peace River, and we are expecting some major storm surge here. That's something that we're certainly keeping an eye on. Although I am up on the 4th floor of this parking garage, we're going to keep our eye on just how high the water gets downtown. Let me show you something else about downtown. As a matter of fact, if you look down the street here, I can remember there were brick buildings that were blown apart during Charlie. There were bricks out in the street, a number of awnings, and of course less substantial buildings were greatly impacted by this. About 45 minutes ago, we actually watched a tree fall into a house on the other side of this parking garage just during one gust of wind. I've been keeping track of the wind up here with my anemometer, my wind gauge, if you will, and haven't seen anything about above 25 miles an hour. But of course, we're expecting the winds to get much worse through the course of the day. Sometime in the next hour, I believe, we will start to see the impact of the eye wall, and then we're expecting to be in the eye of Ian as it crosses through this area. And of course, we're going to keep safety paramount here. We'll just bring you what we can as it happens, but that's kind of where we are right now. Here in Punta Gorda, we'll toss it back to you guys.
All right, Jeff, thank you. Stay safe. We know you will. You know, interestingly, back with Charlie, when it hit Punta Gorda back in 2004, much more compact storm, very strong. But when you look at how large Ian is, this storm is impacting such a huge swath of our state. Really a good chunk of it, other than Panhandle.
And there's something to be said for the experience that we have with the group. You have Jeff, who's covered these hurricanes for years, decades. You have Jeff Patterson, I was talking about, Jeff Baradelli, also mentioning things he's never seen before, the lightning strikes inside of the core of that storm. So this is a very special storm that will be different than what we've seen before. So we're moments away, hours away from landfall. We're going to watch it very closely and bring you minute-to-minute updates as soon as we come back. We're going to take a live look right now outside, and as you can see, the conditions are deteriorating.
Boy, it's ominous out there right now. Stay safe, stay hunkered down, and stay tuned because we're going to be here for you all the way through this storm. We'll be right back.
Yeah, I've got several. Whoops. Okay, they're back. I've got several cams up on other screens. I've had to shut some down because it'll having too many. Of course, Chrome eats up memory and various browsers. They just when you've got so many tabs open across so many screens with video running in all of them, it gets to be a resource hog. And this is a pretty heavy duty gaming rig. So I've had to close some down and I've come back to revisit some other ones. I'll stop them and then refresh to see what's going on with them. But yeah, I've got several of them around Siesta Key looking at how things are going, including watching the tubes over there by the Beach Entry 5, I think it is. Got the parking lot, although that one's getting hard to see because rain's just covering the screen, the lens. Oh, wow, no audio. Hello, pay attention. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen.
The cone graphic, it's a little hard to see, but if you see here, the orange denotes the size. We talked about how the storm would grow as it moved into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and it has. So it's not only strong, It's
Yeah,
big. And that's the worst of
WFLA,
the two.
their audio
And you
dropped
can see
apparently.
as those strong winds sweep
So we'll go back to the Fox
across
feed.
Florida Peninsula, the blue area is tropical storm warnings, virtually almost the entire state of Florida under some type of warning, save the extreme western panhandle. And then the storm moves slowly. I think the word crawls might be better, across the central Florida Peninsula, slowly weakens as it gets inland, but then emerges back over the Atlantic, and then turns back up into either Georgia or South Carolina. And then again, you've got all that strong onshore wind to the east. We talked about the onshore wind, so think about the surge risk here. There's a reason it's called the low country. It's flat, and there's not much elevation there. So even a little bit of storm surge in these areas could be life-threatening. You can also see various hurricane watch also issued for that same portion. Watch is conditions are possible within the next couple of days. I personally like this graphic to kind of help unpack everything, because at some point there's so many warnings it's probably disorienting. The red is hurricane warnings or damaging wind potential. And you can see as Ian cuts across the state, just basically slices across the state, a large swath of damaging winds, down trees, down power lines, power outages, and roads that won't be passable for a long time. So again, get where you're going to be, unless you're way down here. If you're inland around Tampa, I-4, get Orlando, get where you're going to be, and plan to be there for several days. And then you can see the various tropical storm warnings up along the southeast coast of coastal Georgia and South Carolina. I don't want to diminish the rain either. A lot of everyone focuses on the wind and the surge, rightfully so, as we talked earlier in this segment. But a line or band of very heavy rain is going to develop along and to the north of the track where Ian cuts across the state. These are precipitation estimates or precipitation forecasts. The red is greater than 10 inches. The purple is 15. So basically a wide swath of 10 to 15 inches of rain. If you're not familiar with those numbers, that is a lot of rain. And we are at the tail end of the wet season or the rainy season here in Florida. So the flood risk potential is high. And that's basically what I would take away from this graphic. Anything that is in this pink area or high, which is absolutely the I-4 corridor, is a high risk of very heavy rain that will produce flooding, flash flooding, impassable roads.
Mic off.
You just need to get where you're going to stay and plan to be there. We lose so many people after a storm because they get out and wander about. They drive into flooded roads. Power lines might be down. They just encounter. I know you want to see what happened. I know you want to see if your house, your neighborhood is okay, but please stay inside until conditions allow you to safely move about. And then also I want to note here, and notice the flood risk in coastal Georgia, South Carolina, Savannah, and Charleston. You're now at a moderate risk. And I want to explain this because since you're several days out from the onset, a moderate risk that far out in time is actually really significant. And if things continue to unfold, you could be placed in a high risk at a later time. So don't be too fixated that this purple here is only in Florida. I'm really concerned about the flood risk because also this will be co-located with the storm surge that we talked about earlier. Remember the onshore storm surge? And then you have the rain. The rain tries to flow into the river tries to flow into the sea, and it all just converges and creates a big flood mess and potential here in South Carolina. We'll be with you all day to provide updates as needed. For those of you outside of the impacted area, please be thinking about the people in this impacted area and be ready to lend them support, lend them help in the next couple of days. That is it from the National Hurricane Center.
That was the latest update provided by the National Hurricane Center. They started that around noon, so we did take that live for you. This is as the eye wall of Hurricane Ian is beginning to move onshore in the state of Florida around the area of Sanibel Island, Florida, so Fort Myers, Lee County area, that is in southwest Florida. It is 12:06 on the East Coast and 9:06 on the West Coast. If you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, I do want to go over the latest about Hurricane Ian as we do track it very, very closely. So breaking right now, the eye wall of Hurricane Ian starting to move onshore in that Lee County area. The National Hurricane Center saying there is catastrophic storm surge up to possibly 15 feet, along with destructive waves. We know that Hurricane Ian did rapidly intensify over the last several hours, becoming a powerful Category 4 storm with winds of 155 miles per hour. That is just 2 miles per hour shy of a Category 5 storm, which is the
Mic on.
classification
Wow,
for a
2 miles an
hurricane.
hour short.
As of that latest
Way too
advisory
close for
at 11
comfort.
a.m. Eastern, Ian continues to move north-northeast at 9 miles per hour and was located about 60 miles or so west of Naples, Florida. We know the hurricane force winds do extend for a diameter of 40 miles, and tropical storm force winds extend for a diameter of about 175 miles. We are talking about a massive storm that you are looking at live here on our XRAD system. We have been going out to our Fox 13 Tampa team and our Fox 35 Orlando team. We are watching the feeds very closely here. It looks like our Fox 13 Tampa team does have a crew out in the field right now, so I do want to take that for you, raw and unfiltered, on Live Now from Fox.
Gonna go ahead and just show you some of the gusts that we're seeing right now. It is kind of difficult to see the rain, but the rain is blowing sideways. Across the street at a Longhorn there, you can see the American flag whipping. Just an enormous amount of wind coming through the area right now. Like I said earlier, just a couple of hours ago, the wind gusts were not this strong. You can see right here, there's a tree where the branches have been snapped. There are limbs down on the ground. And I want to show you, as you see that, just some of the video that we did go out and capture this morning. We did go drive down to Osprey, and this is a transformer that we saw outside of a mobile home park. Right as we arrived, we heard the pop, and as soon as we turned around, we saw that it was on fire. It looked like a tree branch had hit it, and it went up in smoke. As we went through the area, the rain just continues to fill the potholes that are out here, and the wind continues just to knock out down some of the branches, scattering debris through the area. We drove through a mobile home park, and we saw some damage there as well, one of the roofs already being ripped off. And this is really why officials have said if you are in one of those evacuation zones, there's not much time to get out and get to a safe place at this point in time. And here at the hotel, we've talked to several people that were not going to take any chances, including one woman and her mother who are just a few doors down from us. Go ahead and listen into what they had to say.
I pray that we have a mobile home left and that everybody's safe. Same thing, yep, that everybody's safe, and it's one thing to wish that it goes somewhere else, but then somebody else is impacted as well. So I wish it would just blow it into the ocean and go away so everybody is okay in the next few days.
That is what most of us are wishing at this point, but we know that the reality is that Hurricane Ian is here and is continuing to pack a punch. Now, again, with those mobile home parks, this is some of the damage I believe that you should be seeing right here. And that is why mobile home parks are one of the ones that are always evacuated immediately because of that debris that can fly off of the manufactured homes. And again, just a live picture back out here again, you can see the wind gusts still coming through. The rain is falling steadily. And now people are just kind of holding out, kind of hunkered down, as we would all say here at this Best Western, waiting to see what will happen next as each hour continues to go by. Again, another one of those gusts. Like I said, ever since this morning, the gusts have continued to increase in their strength, and we imagine that they're only going to get stronger. We'll be out here continuing to monitor what we're seeing. We'll be safe and sound right here. We're not going back out on the road. And that's another thing. We did see some cars going out there. Not a smart thing to do, especially at this point in time. Linda Cervani, back to you.
No, and that kind of leads into my question, Kim. In all the video that you just showed us, I saw a lot of some damage, but I didn't see people. So you think most of the people in that area are heeding the warning, right? And they've found where they want to be and they're staying now?
It appears that that's so. In one of the mobile home parks, there were still cars. We saw people getting into their cars, hopefully leaving or going to somebody else's home. But I think really right now at this point in time, people are in their homes just kind of waiting out to see what will happen.
Well, that's good to hear because you can see the rain gusting behind you. You stay safe, Kim. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks.
You know, just to the north, the water in Johns Pass, it's getting rough at this point. Our photographers spotted a lot of dolphins. Can you see that? They're making their way through the pass. Really a compelling reminder. Obviously, it's not just humans weathering the storm. Wildlife is too. But with that in mind, FWC says that people should not try to rescue any animals during or after the storm. Just give the wildlife their space. We spoke with Captain Dylan Hubbard about what else he's seeing at Johns Pass.
Right now we're experiencing a super negative tide. Water is pouring out of Johns Pass at a really increased rate. It's really incredible to see how fast the water is moving out. And right now we've passed the time where we should see a slowdown of the tide or slack tide. So low tide was around 8:15, so we should see the water stop moving now and then start coming in. But it is still pouring out of Johns Pass, so it's a very unique look at extremely low water.
Now you look around here, and you see the islands are just growing. Is it kind of eerie seeing all this stuff?
Yes, it's extremely eerie seeing this low water and so much sand being exposed above the water. And we saw this with Irma. This is very similar to what our area experienced during Irma as that storm kind of approached Everglades City, made landfall, and passed to our east side. We had negative tides, and we could almost walk across Johns Pass. So we're not there yet. The water still has a long way to go to catch up to what we saw with Irma. But these east winds are only going to continue to get stronger. And then as it passes, we get a north wind, and all of that is going to be dumping water out of the bay. So I still think we're going to be experiencing similar to what we saw with Irma, which is better than high water, let me tell you.
What have you guys done to prepare your stuff?
We've done a lot to prepare for this storm. Really, as the storm approached, we had all those emergency evacuations, and we were expecting, like I said, 10, 15 foot of surge. So we were expecting some severe high water. So we over-prepared, prepared for the worst and hoped for the best. And obviously, this isn't the best situation. People down south of us are going to be severely affected by a really major hurricane. But for Pinellas County, for our Tampa Bay,
Mic off.
This is kind of a best-case scenario where we don't have that surge. We still got flooding rain and lots of wind and plenty of storms and tornado threats, but surge is the thing that destroys homes, businesses, and really takes a long time to recover from. And it looks like we've dodged a bullet as far as that's concerned.
With the water all going out, people are like, the beaching of the boats, is that an issue with the boats? Does that hurt the boats?
Yeah, so this is going to be a big issue, the negative low tides, because if boats aren't tied up properly and they're not being adjusted for that low tide, if a big boat's in the water and all the water's gone, if the lines aren't long enough, lines can start breaking, and you could have some issues with some boats tipping over, falling on their side, breaking up. So we are on the boat adjusting the lines as the water changes, and it will be really interesting later on this afternoon around 3, 4 o'clock. We're supposed to be a high tide. We're supposed to get a high tide. So that will be really telling this afternoon. If the water never comes back in, that high tide never recovers, we're going to see probably extremely low tide through this entire event.
Certainly some dramatic images that we're going to expect to see. Fox 13's Josh Cassio joins us live from Treasure Island this afternoon. Josh, it is looking windy.
Yeah, you know, earlier I heard Jim Weber say 60 miles an hour, I think, in Pinellas County, and I'll tell you what, we are feeling every mile per hour that Hurricane Ian can throw at us. The wind, I don't know if you can hear it, but the wind is just screaming, telling us to get out of here, but we are here to tell you exactly what is going on. If you can take a look behind me, you can see the trees blowing in the wind there. Also, the white caps on the water, it gives you an idea of just how strong the winds and the rain is blowing right now. It is pelting rain. It is sideways rain. One thing you may not be able to see, but right over this seawall, you can actually see sand and seagrass, and normally you wouldn't be able to. That shows you that Hurricane Ian is just sucking the water out of here, just like Captain Hubbard was talking about. And then to my right, you can see these boats tied up, a giant sailboat there and some other boats over here. They are essentially sitting in the sand right now. At one point it was even worse, but they are locked into the sand right now because there is just not as much water as there normally would be here on Treasure Island. Again, the wind, though, it is ripping through here. The rain, it is pelting. The good news is, as we drove through this area, we did not see many people, very few, so that is good news. People do seem to be heeding the warnings. Hopefully you're watching us from a safe location. As folks should know by now, here in Pinellas County, there are mandatory evacuations in zones A, B, and C. And then on the barrier islands where we are right now, you can get out here, but if you do, you have to show your credentials. You have to say that you are either a homeowner here, a contractor, or you have a good reason to be here. Otherwise, they will not let you on the barrier islands, and quite frankly, for good reason. What we're seeing again, huge wind gusts, sustained, whipping rain. It's getting hard to stand out here. Luckily, we are in a safe location. We've got cover. Again, most people have left, but certainly what we're seeing out here is very bad, and it's clearly going to get worse. We know conditions will deteriorate soon. So, yeah, folks out here are in for quite a storm. This is the beginning of it, and if it's going to get worse, boy, it's going to be a rough one. Back to you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can hear all the debris just kind of blowing around, pelting you. Be safe, and definitely windier than rainier at that point. Josh, we'll see you soon.
I'm not sure he heard you, but
he heard the wind and the sand.
Right. Gave us a feel for what it's like outside there right now and why you shouldn't be outside, right?
For
He
sure.
said I could barely stand.
Yeah, it looks right now like the storm is going to work its way through Polk County, hitting between Lake Wells and Frostproof.
Right, so emergency management officials are telling people in low-lying areas, if you haven't already evacuated, do it now. But Fox 13's Ken Suarez is standing by at the Peace River Village with more. But Ken, I'm not even sure it's safe to get out now, is it?
Well, they say if it's a place that's close to you, it's a pretty good idea because a lot of people, for whatever reason, have decided to stay. We were here the other day, as a matter of fact, and we saw a lot more people. So some people have left, but a lot have decided to stay. There's a particular problem at this place and other places that are low-lying. Take a look behind me, and you see the rain is coming down, the wind is blustery. Even though we're a pretty good distance from Sarasota, where Kim is, or where Josh is on the beaches, it is really wet. Look here, it has been wet here forever and ever, because even a little bit of rain will certainly, make the ground here way too wet. So it's not absorbing. You look at over here and you see that there is a sewer line. It's taking some water out, doing a fair job. But can you imagine when Ian actually gets here? If you take a look over that way, Jeremy, point over there into the woods, you may be able to see a swamp. That is the Peace River, which is probably a quarter mile or so from here. It's actually been overflowing for quite a while, and that is the problem. This is not the only place in Polk County where we have low-lying areas. There are a lot of other places as well that flood just like this place. Now, as you've been hearing here on Fox 13, the problem is that it's been raining for a while, and the ground just can't absorb any more water. So what are we getting now? Well, obviously more rain, and this is just the beginning. It's going to get a lot worse as Ian gets closer to Polk and moves through the Bay Area. That's why Polk emergency managers are making a last-ditch effort to try and convince people who live in low-lying areas, just like this one, to get out now.
Our ground is already saturated from rain that we've had in the last several weeks already. So now if we get 2 feet on top of that, there's just capacity issues with drainage, and water's going to fill up low-lying areas and come out of the Peace River out of its bank.
There are about 12.5 shelters open in Polk County right now. There are general ones for people who have special needs and people who have pets. So they're pretty much covering all the bases. Emergency managers say they're not getting as many people as expected for whatever reason, but the time to do it is now, because as time goes on, obviously it's going to become more and more difficult to get out and more dangerous to get out. As I said before, we were here the other day and we saw a lot more people here, so some people have left, but there are lots of cars here, and that means a lot of people are here. Emergency managers are saying, bad idea, don't think about it, just do it now. Back to you.
you're going to get out on the road, maybe check something like Waze, too, to see what the traffic situation is like. Yeah. All right. And thanks so much. All right, Jim, I know you're watching a lot. We saw Josh at Treasure Island. He was blowing around, and I know there was a tornado warning you were keeping an eye on.
Yeah, the tornado warning has since expired. I'm sure we're going to see more of these, but that eye wall, that is now starting to work its way on shore, and that is where you're going to find the strongest winds of this. This is down to our south. Look at Sky Tower radar right now. And you can see where this is working its way on shore fairly slowly right now. And remember, we're talking about a storm that will be slowing down as it works its way on shore and pushes through. But there you see it on Sky Tower radar, down towards Sanibel, working its way up towards Punta Gorda and Port Charlotte. This is also the area that we have that extreme wind warning. That goes until 2 o'clock this afternoon as that eye wall cycles on shore. Now remember, this is not landfall yet. Landfall is considered when the center passes over land, but you can see that is not far away at this point. The other thing you notice is we just continue to see a lot of lightning in and around that eye wall, which tells us this system is continuing to do everything it can to intensify, which is really always that worst case scenario, to talk about a continuing a system that just continues to intensify as it is making landfall. Basically, we are maximizing the amount of wind and power in this system when you have that intensifying storm. So Sarasota, really all the way through Sarasota up into Manatee County, you see these rain bands. They just continue to spiral around, and we see those oranges and reds and the yellows. That's where you're seeing the heaviest portions of this. That rain is basically going sideways at this point. We're seeing these winds in these bands, 50, 60 miles an hour. We've seen that even as far away as Pinellas County, southern Pinellas County, St. Petersburg, seeing these winds gusting close to 60 miles an hour as these bands continue to work their way through, and it's just going to continue. And then the rainfall on top of it, lighter amounts to our north up into Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus County, but still, you've got some pretty gusty winds up in that direction. In fact, you look at some of the wind gusts there, you see Punta Gorda right now, winds gusting to 67 miles an hour, Sarasota 60. Here in Tampa, we're seeing the winds gusting to 41. In St. Petersburg, along the coastline, you're seeing that wind gusting to 62 miles an hour, which is, at this point, notice the wind direction. It is pushing the water out of the bay. So we've been talking about that storm surge and pushing the water up the bay or out of the bay. With the storm passing to our south, we're actually pulling the water out of the bay. So to talk more about the storm surge, the position, and the track, I'm going to pass this over to Paul Delgado, where we've been watching these cameras, and it's just amazing to see what's happening in the bay right now.
I mean, visually, it's incredible. When you look at the, well, let me go back on this. That's the Brookdale Bayshore cam. And we got 73 degrees, and I was on the Bayshore earlier, and again, it's the northeast wind that is blowing, obviously, the water out of the bay. We said last night, we're going to show you a video of the bay. I mean, it's spectacular to look at, and it gets a lot of social media interaction. But in the bottom line, what really is important is the power outages and the storm surge from the point of landfall south to me. We've seen water levels go up now down by Fort Mine.
85 miles per hour, 10 to 20 inches of rainfall, so flooding there, down trees, not out of the equation. And as we take a look now at Brevard County as well, again, we've ramped up from a tropical storm warning to a hurricane warning now. Winds there 40 to 50. Wind speeds on the gust will be at 75 miles per hour. Rainfall there in that range of 4 to 8 inches, but there could possibly be locally higher amounts. That's how it typically works, depending on where these rain bands set up, how much rain they do drop. Orange County hurricane warning in effect now until further notice. We've got winds there at 55 to 70, gusts to 100 miles per hour, 10 to 20 inch rainfall maximum on the plus side of that for some. And lastly, I do want to take a look at Seminole County for those of you, and also Flagler County, as we show you those wind gusts at nearly 70 miles per hour. Again, we've got a tropical storm warning there as well. So again, I'm going to head over to Allison now with some live storm tracking, Fox 35 Storm Tracker radar. Allison, bring us up to date. Looks like some pretty heavy rain marching into Volusia, North Brevard at this time.
That's exactly right. So our Fox 35 Storm Tracker radar showing some of those outer rain bands making their way into our viewing area. You can see this is a loop over the last 30 minutes. Some lightning just offshore of Brevard County, likely going to be paralleling with coastal Volusia County, so something to keep in mind if you do live along the coast. But I do want to take you into some rainfall rates. We actually can see just how much rain is falling in a short amount of time, and you can see some rain right there. That is a video from Sanibel Island. Now, that is a lot of rain. Again, a Category 4 major hurricane that is starting to make landfall in southwest Florida. For us here, our rainfall rates are anywhere from 2 to nearly 5 inches per hour. So with that being said, a lot of rain, and these are the outer rain bands of Ian. More will be on the way as we head into the next several hours. Let's call it 36 to 48 there. But I do want to take you into our power outages map, and we are seeing a lot of people without power. Actually, just about a few minutes ago, we were seeing the Fort Myers area, Lee County, actually in the red with more than 100,000 folks without power. So that's something we're going to work out the details for you. But you know, as this system makes its way on shore, both Jamie and I have been scrolling through social media, looking at all of the videos and seeing those down power lines already, and like I mentioned, still haven't made landfall. So as soon as that comes on shore, even more rain and even strong winds.
Okay, so now we're dealing with a strong hurricane getting ready to make landfall here, major, almost Category 5, right? Southwest Florida. See Allison and I, we are going to take you kind of a round robin around town. Also giving you the lookout here on some of our area cameras as conditions deteriorate, giving you those eyes. I know a lot of you in your safe places now, but I want to let you know we are here live tracking, keeping you safe. Stay with us. Download the Fox 35 Storm Team Weather app because, as Allison showed, power outages are going to increase. And on our Fox 35 Storm Team Weather app, you can actually stream our coverage live on your mobile device. What you see right here can come across right on the app. So it's a great
charge your phones now.
Yeah, great detail there on the app for you guys. We'll send it back to you, Amy Ryan.
All right, thank you so much. And of course, keep it right here on Fox 35. We are going to have continuing coverage of Hurricane Ian. We're not leaving you.
You know, we've been looking while they were talking, Fort Myers seeing some major flooding. We're starting to see some of these images now. We'll let you know exactly what is in store as we move forward as well. When we take a look, speaking at some of the flooding as well, this is Sanibel Island, I believe, where we're looking at some of this flooding. Numerous spots around where that eye wall is starting to come on shore. Seeing these kind of images for sure with very, very strong storm surge flooding the southwest Florida coast. Remember, the governor is going to speak at 1 o'clock. We're going to bring that to you live as we head toward that time.
Good afternoon and good morning, depending on where you are joining us here. 1228 over on the East Coast and 928 on the West Coast. You are watching live now from Fox as we continue our extensive coverage of Hurricane Ian. We've been telling you now for the last little bit that the eye wall of Hurricane Ian has been moving onshore in southwest Florida. This is live video coming in on one of our feeds that does show Sanibel Island, Florida. That is where the storm is making landfall. As of the update just provided by the National Hurricane Center within the last 30 minutes, this is a Category 4 storm with winds of 155 miles per hour moving north-northeast at 9 miles per hour. Again, this live video here coming from Sanibel Island. We know the storm is about 2 miles per hour shy of a Category 5 storm, the highest classification for a hurricane. The Hurricane Center saying there is catastrophic storm surge along with very destructive waves. Ian once again moving north-northeast at 9 miles per hour, located about 50 miles west-northwest of Naples, Florida. The hurricane force winds do extend for a diameter of 40 miles, and tropical storm force winds extend for a diameter of 100
Mic on.
miles.
All right, apparently the WFLA feed is down right now. They're adjusting, getting ready for the landfall coverage. That's in the upper left of my feed.
Mic off.
Reporters all over the Sunshine State. We are going to head right now over to Fox 13 Tampa as they are taking a look at the full forecast and what we can expect as Ian does make landfall.
When we get up in the sky, maybe probably not tomorrow, but probably Friday morning, we start looking at some of the visuals, the aerials, looking down at some of these subdivisions and these neighborhoods, Punta Gorda, Northport, all those towns south towards Charlotte Harbor, and our friends down in Fort Myers. There's going to be some subdivisions that will be inundated by water. We'll have significant storm surge flooding, and probably what we're going to see for the next couple of months going into Christmas holidays is a lot of blue tarps on the roofs in areas where the strongest winds occur. 108-mile-an-hour potential, Sarasota, and in St. Pete. St. Pete's going to be especially windy downtown. Jim showed you that 62-mile-an-hour wind gust in downtown St. Pete. It's windy all the time because the bay is open to the northeast. So many times, we'll show wind speeds on a typical afternoon with an east wind, and we'll have 7, 10, 12. Then we'll show downtown St. Pete, and it's 32 or 22. The wind really howls downtown because of that open bay to the east. So that's why the 92 shows up in St. Pete, and it's probably not impossible for that to happen. So we'll be looking for that later on today and tonight. And then the storm continues to move inland and then starts heading for the east coast. Here's when the winds begin to turn by tomorrow morning, with some of the water will probably start piling up on our west coast. But generally speaking, the physics of it, when storms are moving away from us, even when the winds go by, the water levels do not get as high as they would from an approaching storm from the Gulf of Mexico. So there could be some additional high water, even Tampa Bay north on the backside. And then finally by Friday, we're pretty much done. Some impacts, obviously gust 120, probably not in Hillsborough and Pinellas, but certainly down in southern Sarasota County and also in Charlotte and Lee counties. There'll be wind gust 110, 120, at least 12 to 18 on the rain. Storm surge will be south of Tampa Bay and primarily along and to the right or to the south of where the storm makes landfall. We're not forgetting about you in Citrus, Pasco, Hernando. It's going to be a rainy, windy day. There may be an isolated tornado, but you may be too far north for that. It's going to be rain and wind, and I think your hope up here is to avoid losing power and avoid any type of tree damage. You always get your car. It has to be out of the way. You don't want to look around and go, that tree could fall in my car. That branch could just get your car in a safe spot. I hope you cleared up the branches near the house, but mainly it's going to be gusty winds, heavy rain, certainly wind gusts up to 40 to 60 mile an hour, not impossible. Then later today, stay with us because we're going to end up watching the eye just roll across the state, kind of in the same track as Charlie, but probably with more widespread impacts. So stick with us in Polk County, in Hardy, DeSoto, and Highlands, because we'll do a lot of nowcasting, and we will show you some specific impacts and wind speeds. But it's going to be a rough couple of, maybe not a couple of hours. This is a long event, through this afternoon into tonight, and then improving tomorrow. So we got a ways to go on this one with the storm still basically on our coastline. Rainfall the next 3 days, about as high as it gets. I mean, the scale is 20 inches, so between 10 and 20, maybe some higher amounts. So we are done with that, and I'm going to be with you all afternoon. Jim and Dave did a great job this morning. Tyler will be in this afternoon.
Good afternoon and good morning, depending on where you are streaming us from. Welcome to Live Now from Fox as our continuous coverage of Hurricane Ian does continue. I do want to take you over to our Fox 35 Orlando team. They are giving a breakdown of the storm itself and what we can expect over the next several hours.
Rainfall there at 10 to 20 inches could be on the plus side in some of the locations, especially toward the I-4 corridor with Brevard County hurricane warning as well tonight to Friday morning. Your winds there steady at 40 to 50 miles per hour, especially in the coastal areas. A lot of people don't realize there's less friction over the Atlantic, so that allows winds to come up even higher right along the barrier islands.
Mic on.
75 and rainfall tallies in that range.
All right, I'm going to switch back over. Looks like WFLA is back up, so I'm switching audio back to them up in Tampa Bay.
Upwards of 90 miles per hour, and that's not going to happen until a little later on tonight. Let's talk about Hillsborough County. Sustained winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour, gusts upwards of 80. Could see a little bit of a surge later on tomorrow, but again, not really too concerned about it. I am concerned inland areas of Hillsborough County, we could see some localized flooding. The farther away from the center that you get, the lower amounts of rainfall that we are going to see. Originally, we were thinking 8 to 12 here in Pinellas County of rainfall, but because of the fast forward motion, I'm not really too concerned that we're going to see that much. Still going to see some localized flooding, though. Those wind speeds, 40 to 50 mile per hour in Pinellas, with sustained upwards of 60 miles per hour. Upwards along the nature coast here, not a whole lot of impacts. We're still going to see gusty winds, but this is going to be our least impacted area in Citrus, Pasco, and Hernando County. Guys?
All right, thank you very much, Amanda. We are seeing water being pushed out of the Gulf near Bayshore Boulevard. That is expected because of where the storm is making landfall. Continue to move south and just stayed on that path. A couple of days ago, we thought we were going to be in the eye of the storm.
And from our studio and from our newsroom, we can look out and see the Hillsborough River, and it's eerie to watch that water get pushed out into the bay and beyond. 8 on your side's Brianda Villegas standing by right there. And Brianda, I saw a skateboard there, and I'm sure you're seeing other things now that the water is gone. How does it look?
Absolutely. So it's actually been pushed out a couple more feet since I was last up here, around like an hour and a half or so. But yes, I see this skateboard. There's actually a bottle. I tried to look to see if there was a message in the bottle. There was not. But there's socks. There's bags of chips out here. A lot of just basically trash out there. But usually, you know, the Hillsborough River is all the way up over my head. But we're seeing this with a lot of bodies of water here in Tampa Bay. So it is causing a lot of people to talk about it, especially because they saw something very similar back a couple years ago during Hurricane Irma. So what's important to actually keep in mind right now is that if you are in this area of downtown Tampa, zones A and B, as well as if you're in a mobile
Look
home,
at that.
you are being asked to evacuate. But
All the water
the Hillsborough
sucked
County
out.
Emergency Operations Center says that right now you need to stay in place because conditions will start to worsen a bit, and they're worried about flash flooding. They're also worried about the winds picking up. But if you're actually looking right now, it's starting to rain a bit, but I'm not really feeling any rain as of right now. About 20 minutes ago, I felt a big gust of air, but nothing that is too worrisome as of right now. But that's what I'm seeing out here. For now, I'm going to toss it back to you guys.
Get out of the river, lady.
Hey, Brianda, I bet you never thought you'd be standing out there. We look at that every day. I mean, our station's beautiful. Yeah. It's on the river. It's a gorgeous spot. It's just so funny to see it all taken out of
Looks like another planet.
It does.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, whenever Hurricane Irma was going on, I actually was driving on the Howard Franklin Bridge, and the same thing was happening there. But I drove on the Howard Franklin Bridge earlier today, and I didn't really see that happening. It might have changed. It's been a couple hours since I've been over there, but it will be very interesting to see, you know, residents sending us their videos of what they're seeing close by their homes.
All right, thanks so much, Brianda Villegas, live for us just outside the studio tonight.
And if you want to know anything about Hurricane Ian's latest track closures, how it might affect you where you
we
live
lost Charlie's Landing again.
Go to WFLA.com or our free WFLA app because we are on this minute by minute. We'll be here all through the night because overnight it's going to be a scary time for those who are watching us in the interior counties.
Yeah, and the next few hours are critical, especially on the western coastline of Florida. And as you said, moving inland, it's going to be a long night for a lot of people. So we are going to stay on top of it. Stay close with us. We're going to take a live look from our tower cam right now. And yeah, it's starting to get dicey in all parts of the viewing area.
And really the calm before the storm where it's about to make landfall. We'll take you back to Punta Gorda shortly. We'll be right back.
Mic off.
Yeah,
Mic
vacation. I volunteer with several disaster response organizations. Ooh, that's cold. See, I'm down in DFW. I'm down much closer to Kidney. He's a 5-hour drive away. And I served in the Marines many years ago. Wow, look at that video in Miami on the causeway. That's just insane.
Putting the pump pumps lower in the area, so they started working sooner. But it remains to be seen with Hurricane Ian whether or not any of that will make a difference when it comes to the Orlo Vista neighborhood. We're live in Orange County. Matt Trezza, Fox 35 News.
Matt, thank you.
It's so hard to forget all those images
It
in those
really
trucks.
is. Yeah, all those people having to get pulled out of those neighborhoods. Fox 35's Vicki Carr has live team coverage continuing now. She is in downtown Daytona Beach.
Yeah, Vicki posted a picture of the surf before. Let's check in right now. I know, Vicki, it's starting to pick up there in Volusia County.
Yeah, Ryan and Amy, and just like Matt was talking in the area that he is, people in Volusia County, this is one of the areas that is very prone to flooding. So a lot of the business owners here are very nervous for Hurricane Ian. So I want to show you some of the places here already boarded up. We've seen business owners coming and going, doing their last minute preparations. I talked to one of the businesses here, and they were saying that they wish they would have done this a lot sooner, but they better be safe than sorry. They told me that one of the problems that they had was during Hurricane Matthew, when this entire area looked like a river. And a big concern of that is because the Halifax River is right here. You can see it from where we are. So they have been very nervous about this, making their last preparations. Take a listen to what
How's
one
it, Doc?
owner said about what her biggest fear is.
That's the biggest fear, that uncertainty, that you don't know what's going to happen. So
Thank you
just
for
have to
coming by.
prepare
Oh
for it
yeah, hit the
as much as
caps
you
lock.
can.
Let's ultimate fail that.
So we're very close to the ocean.
This has
from
been
here,
really
right
good
next to the
practice for me to
Halifax River. Then you got the ocean.
on
So
my
we went
streaming
over
software
there
too. You
before
know, I'm
this
a new
live shot to
streamer,
check out
so.
what the water looks like. It's very windy. It's starting to pick up.
And I changed
It's
yet again. I
sprinkling
changed
on and
my
off, but
streaming
right now it is
software.
starting to pick up.
I'm
And
now on my
you're checking with
across
Deep
this
Safety.
parking
They
lot.
tell me
third
that
or
it's
fourth
how you
closed,
couldn't see
but
that.
also they brought it.
I'm
package.
assuming you can.
And
Goodness
this one I
gracious,
seem to
this
be
is
able
a
to
lot of
make
rain
customizations and
powerful
changes
at
to a
that.
lot more
I
quickly.
figured out, or Dave Kraut figured out what that noise I've been talking about all day was. It's a sign right here on the edge of the roadway that's just being beaten back and forth. It's suspended to two posts. It's some sort of signage, but it's a piece of it coming off. There's the rain. This is certainly the heaviest rain we've seen in our time here. And just to reassure you, I know folks at the station are wondering about this. We are safe and secluded from the wind within a
I have
corridor
lost
here,
several,
we're barely affected by this
a couple
wind or
of
rain
the
unless I
siesta
walk out
key
into this
cams
parking lot, but I'm not
outside
gonna do that anymore,
Sarasota.
given the increasing rain and the speed of it.
Some are
of
still
the
up,
wind,
some are down.
and frankly, the
We're
increase
buffering
in all
anyway.
these noises and things that obviously indicate those other factors. So it is raining.
Cheers,
from every
Tag. Thank
direction.
you.
It is windy in every direction, and we are just anticipating this eye wall coming closer and closer to us. So I'm
Just
sure
got my
Jeff
coffee
Patterson's
loaded
seeing
up.
something similar down in Punta Gorda right now, guys. We'll send it back to you.
Oh, you couldn't even see my cam.
Jack, thank you. We know you'll stay safe out there, and that is the thing that this storm kind of comes in layers, Josh. We've got
Here
the
we go.
rain, the
Cheers.
wind, and
Time for
possibly
coffee.
flying debris. That's what
Thanks
we
for coming
don't
by, Tag. We'll see you in a bit.
where a projectile could come and get.
And it'll speed up and slow down. I thought it would have been hit by now in terms of that eye wall, but still some time left. So let's check the latest track now. Let's go now to the forecast with meteorologist Lee Spann.
Yes, and we are seeing that it is going to get worse for him. Over the next hour, he is going to get more and more and more into this eye wall. So that includes all of Northport, all of southern Sarasota County, because remember, that's the center of the circulation. And as it moves to the north-northeast, it's going to push that eye wall so much closer to the coast of Sarasota. So there's Englewood, there's Punta Gorda, there's Port Charlotte, there's Northport. So again, there was a lull in the activity. From here on out, for the next hour at least, if not more, they're going to be in what could be the strongest part of the storm. Likely that the strongest 155 miles per hour
Hey, I
is
just
also
got my
going back
Twitch
toward the
affiliate.
west.
Yay
But
me.
this would be
I don't know what
close.
that
This would
means.
be that eye wall crashing on shore. Again, a landfall is the center of the circulation, but you have to go through the worst part of the storm, which is the eye wall, and it continues to move in that counterclockwise spin. I mean, there's Herons Glen Golf and Country Club, Suncoast Estates, all along that corridor there. This is going to get very rough very soon and last for quite some time. That's another wave that is coming through. That
Thank you so much for helping me get here. This is awesome.
And then
Like
we
I
have
said, I
some
don't know what it
light to
means.
moderate rain, but it's breezy.
I just,
up in Citrus,
I've been
Fernando, and
streaming for
Pasco
several
County.
years,
And
but I
again, we
didn't
are under a
actually start
tornado
streaming
watch
semi-regularly
for areas of
until the
Polk County
last
southward, because embedded
month
in
or
any
so.
of these rain bands could be
the threat for spinning tornadoes.
And I'm just doing
very
this for
quickly.
entertainment purposes.
What we also
It gets
know is that
through the
Sarasota
pandemic,
County,
I was able
where
to help
Jack is, where
with
we're seeing the possibility of
streaming
getting that
hybrid
that
and
high
online
wall,
conferences.
there
So
is
this
an
was kind of a
extreme
natural.
wind warning issued,
My gaming
and it is for
experience was
Sarasota
kind of a
County,
natural
and it is also
on
for
being able to
Charlotte
leverage
County
this
right now,
experience to
because
help
we
people
could
do
see
this
a
in
large
organizations.
swath of 115 mile per hour wind. So please be aware, if you're anywhere in Sarasota County, now
Oh
is
yeah.
the time to
Good to hear,
treat
Doc.
this
You're
like a
probably going to
tornado.
get some rain
Put
and
as
wind.
many walls between you
A
and that
couple of my
house
friends, they
in that
deployed
storm
out.
as
We had
possible.
route
And
clearance
unlike a
teams
tornado,
deploy
you're
out
gonna have to stay
to
in that safe
Atlanta.
place for quite some time.
So
Just to the
many of them
south,
are out there
that's where we're gonna
hunkering
see
down
the
and
potential
waiting,
storm
and they'll
surge
help to
coming
clear
onshore.
roads to
A
let the
lot of
power and the
areas
recovery
from Fort
trucks
Myers south
get into
will not
Florida
only have to
afterwards.
deal with the strong winds, but also the water
But yeah, I saw that
comes in from the Gulf of
Savannah,
Mexico
Georgia, I think,
inundates
is getting
lanes.
hit.
Let's check in now
So
with meteorologist Amanda Holly on what we
some
can
of the
expect
outer
going
bands, I guess.
Yeah, we're taking a look at that real-time wobble tracker. We've showed it to you a few times.
Real-time
really
wobble tracker. I can't get that out of my head.
Are the slight wobbles east and west that the center of the storm takes. It makes a big difference in those impacts. A couple of miles here, a couple of miles there can lead to a big difference down the line. So we've been tracking these wobbles since it left Cuba, and we've seen
Tracking
these
the
wobbles.
wobbles.
And it has changed.
Give me some more tequila.
The National Hurricane Center track of the path ever so slightly. So the latest wobble that we
brother,
had,
I hope you're doing okay on the martinis.
Now, it looks like it's jogging back straight north, but it does look like we are going to see this general north-northeast trend to continue. But at the end of this loop, you can see that eastern edge of the eye wall really impacting our coastline now, and that's why Lee just showed you that extreme wind warning. But either way, all of this going to now move onshore as we go through the next 12 to 24 hours. And we are looking at power outages. We're already seeing about 265,000 customers without power generally down in this area. You are likely going to be without power now as the storm comes ashore, and if you're near that center, and especially as that eye wall comes ashore. So what you're looking at are the power outage possibilities, and these darker reds, these oranges, that's a high likelihood that you will lose power here as the storm passes. Now the storm's going to continue to move inland, and the chance lessens, but we're still looking at these deeper oranges and even some areas of that red. As we get later out into time, this is tonight, we're still looking at that low risk for a lot of our area. The storm is going to weaken, but at this point, we're going to be having these tropical storm force winds continuing across a lot of the area. It's going to weaken those structures. It's going to weaken some of that infrastructure, that power infrastructure. Now, if you still have power by 11 a.m. tomorrow, it's a good chance that you might not lose power throughout the entirety of the storm, because we'll actually have improving conditions by tomorrow afternoon.
All right, that would be good. Let's hope for that. You know, an interesting thing about this storm is it's touching so many parts of Florida from the southern tip now, and we don't know the track yet, but it could turn and go a lot farther north than we're expecting. But it's been a long time since we've seen something like that.
Yeah, Jeff Baradelli, our chief meteorologist, came up with this wobble tracker. And a little wobble can make a very big difference depending on where you live.
A little wobble can make a big difference.
It's low tide right now in Fort Myers, but
I don't think so. Is going to have to evacuate. He's probably going to get quite a bit of rain and some wind, but it should be, you know, the track adjustment is putting him in the path. He's up in Orlando, but that's up on the northeast coast, up by Jacksonville. So he will probably be getting wetter than he had originally expected, but of course we'll have to see, because this tornado has been, you know, it was getting stronger and stronger. Now it's kind of leveled out, but it's leveled out as a Cat 4. So hopefully he doesn't have to evacuate. So we'll have to wait and see. I doubt it. But again, it depends on where exactly he lives. In Florida, they have different zones set up. And if you're in certain zones, some become mandatory evacuation zones when certain criteria are met. But yeah, I think they're expecting anywhere up to about a foot of rain in Orlando now. It wasn't originally going to be like that, but now, yeah. Yeah, they're not talking inches, they're talking feet now. Whoops, let's change audio again.
45-mile-an-hour winds.
This is what happened to my feed last night. I started losing browsers.
It's no longer safe for emergency vehicles to be on the road.
And it looked like my computer wanted to reboot while I was at City Council last night.
in place. I'll go ahead and take some questions.
We know that there are so many personnel in the building right now still actively trying to help residents, even though the roads aren't safe to drive across. Can you just talk to us about what's happening in this building? What resources are there if people are stuck or in a jam because of the storm?
So I'm sure you probably have seen our sheriff. They are responsible for our public emergency communications center that's located at the top of our emergency operations center. They put out some great information. I would advise our community to follow them on social media. They talked about the resources they have available if individuals are calling into 911. We also can take in calls to our 311 center that's also located at the top of our emergency operations center. We can provide additional information about what does shelter in place mean, right? So sheltering in place means that you want to find the most center location in your home. You want to put as many walls between you and the exterior of your home. We're working the best we're getting calls, we're getting things through social media from people outside of the county asking for us if we could check on their residents. At this time, we're doing the best that we can as we are getting some reports that cell phone service is being interrupted as well as power. From the last update you gave us just a couple of hours ago, I mean, your numbers doubled in the shelter. So what does that continue to tell you about people who are heating and warming? We have a very smart community, They understand the importance of heeding the evacuation notices. I'd like to thank our media partners for sharing this information with our community. We're taking this seriously. Not only are our county staff members who are working here at our Emergency Operations Center, our local government partners, our state partners, the National Weather Service taking it seriously, but our community is taking it seriously. And I think those numbers going on the rise for our evacuation summer demonstrates that. What would happen if someone shows up to a shelter front doors after their lockdown? We're going to do our best to accommodate everyone we can, but we also have to think about the safety of the individuals. For our partners who are our media partners, you guys are out here with us at the Emergency Operations Center. You know what it's like to open the door on the outside. There's definitely an impact to individuals who are on the inside. So take that into consideration at the evacuation centers. We'll do our best to accommodate our community members. We want everybody to be safe.
It's James Hill with ABC7. Can you talk a little bit about wind damage and also the storm surge and the problems that can
across the rooftops
So obviously
here,
we're looking at incoming damage reports. I don't have any exact details.
This parking garage, I heard something I have never really heard before.
But DeGorda?
Almost the storm breathing. It was making a peculiar sound in the parking garage. You know, coming and going, just heaving and hoeing, if you will. As the wind is blowing through this parking garage, coming from our south and our east in our direction, and we're just
what happened to my chat?
The gusts of wind. I've been monitoring them with my handheld wind gauge. Seen them over 40, 45 miles an hour so far, and we aren't even yet quite into the worst of it.
Little bit of lag there, lag spike.
About 5 years. He wasn't here for Charlie, but he lives in the, it's a residential parking garage structure that we are in, and he walked down just a while ago. You can't see it now because of the wall of water from the rain that is there.
Okay.
But on the other side of those buildings is the Peace River, and he was telling me he walked down to the Peace River this morning, and he could see the water flow coming out, the river kind of draining down, almost as if some of the photos that I've seen along Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa taking water out of Old Tampa Bay. The water is now being taken out of the Peace River because of the flow of the rain.
I'm trying to find Charlie's feed. He's on Siesta Key, and he has a little dock and the little harbor. He's on the, I believe he's on the backside where the channel faces Sarasota. And he was actually out there earlier this morning in his swim trunks, getting pummeled by rain and wind. You could see him when he stepped out, and then he came back into chat. Now that's some serious streaming.
Obviously not safe for us to go out and check that out right now. We're in a pretty safe location, but just based on the noises that I'm hearing from this storm, there is already damage that is occurring here in Punta Gorda. So we're going to maintain our position where we are and be as safe as possible and bring you these incredible pictures, but we'll toss it back to you guys for now.
All right, Jeff Patterson, stay safe. It's getting dicey out there. We appreciate the coverage. We'll check back with you later.
Sadly, he's covered a lot of these. He does know what he's doing there. He will be safe. For the latest on Hurricane Ian and what's happening in your specific area, download our WFLA app. It has everything you need to know from current conditions including what to do in case of an emergency. And we're going to break back into programming when we get a chance to update you on Hurricane Ian.
Now, would you guys say this is slowing down or speeding up? Where are we at with this storm? Because it seems like it still hasn't hit land quite yet.
Well, it is. I mean, you feel differently if you were along the coast of Fort Myers right now, because you are getting those the beginning of that eye wall. And yes, I mean, it's moving at 10 miles an hour, but you know it takes a little while for that to move on shore. That's what we're seeing right now. Northport, Punta Gorda, Englewood, you're going to see those conditions deteriorate. Luckily, originally we were thinking we were going to see this system slow down and crawl through the area, but we're not really seeing that anymore. So it's going to be a steady pace as we go through the next 24 hours.
Yep, it's going to be a long day and a long night and several long days for a lot of Florida. So stay with us.
It sounds like good news it's not slowing down, because that would just mean a lot more rain.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Our next news program is today at 4.
Oh, so they're leaving. I got to find another one. Awesome. Find another feed. Switching back to Fox audio.
Hurricane Ian is nothing to laugh at. All right, so it's important for everyone to follow the notifications, take it very seriously, and to start those processes to shelter in place. I'll take 2 more questions.
I'll take 2 more questions.
What is the current estimation on how long these 45-plus mile-an-hour winds are going to last?
It depends. As you guys are watching the weather reports, just like we are, we're getting reports in from the National Weather Service. Ian is a slow-moving storm. So it's a storm. So we're monitoring the weather and the time frame for how long it's going to pass. It's going to be a while.
And you mentioned sending out an alert about State Road 681. Can you elaborate on what you meant by that?
So we're seeing the sustained winds right now, and we just put out for the iPods that you guys got, that emergency notification. 681, that notification is getting ready to go out. What we're looking at is a wave of the sustained 45-mile-an-hour winds. Our Sarasota County Emergency Operations are dedicated to helping our community members as long as they can while still remaining safe themselves. So why we're putting out multiple alerts is because that wave of the winds, that sustainment, is moving northward through the county. We want to make sure that our community members know that as long as we can, we're there to support them. So you're going to get multiple reports that says we can no longer go from this point. We can no longer go from this point. Because our team members, as long as they can go out there and help our community, they will. Annie, yes?
I don't know. How does it work if there's an alert issued in the middle of a call? If someone's out there almost out of place, would they continue or would they go back?
They'll do the best they can to complete the calls that they're on and then go back. All right, last question?
As far as pets are concerned, they are welcome at shelters?
All of our evacuation centers are pet friendly, and let me look at, I think I just got a recent report. We have about 560 pets across our evacuation centers. All right.
Florida Highway Patrol would like to remind people just stay off the interstate, please. They can't respond to traffic accidents.
All right. So from our partners,
stay off the
interstates. Being asked to share with you and for you to share with your viewers to stay off the interstate. Now is not the time to go driving around anywhere. You've heard it from your media partners. Shelter in place. All right.
Anybody who knows me knows that during severe weather, I'm that guy.
Everyone who's been watching here with us on live now from Fox, we continue to keep track of this storm, especially as it is now making landfall.
And thank y'all for your service getting off the roads to clear them for me.
Just want to pop up that shot here for all of our viewers. Ron DeSantis is going to be speaking, giving us an update, especially as it is now landing upon the area just south of Tampa. So Ian still tracking and moving slowly into the Tampa Bay area. It is at a Category 4, and Governor Ron DeSantis is going to be giving us an update here. Live now from Fox. We'll be here in just a few moments. Good morning again. Thank you so much for being here with us on Live Now from Fox. We appreciate all of our viewers watching here, especially as we continue to track Hurricane Ian. Hurricane Ian, extremely dangerous eye wall. It is moving onshore. It is going to be
here we go.
Catastrophic storm surge, winds, and flooding in the Florida Peninsula soon. And the eye of the hurricane
Well, it is moving towards this area here just a little bit south of Tampa Bay. It's moving about 9 miles per hour, and this general motion is going to continue to make its way into Florida here today. Now, on the forecast track, the center of Ian expected to move onshore here over these next few minutes and more over central Florida later tonight into Thursday morning and emerge over the western Atlantic by late Thursday. Ian is forecast to turn northward then on Friday and approach the northwestern Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina coasts a little bit late on Friday. Now, these maximum winds are sustaining near 155 miles per hour with higher gusts. Ian is right now Category 4 hurricane. And Ian expected here to continue to bring not only those high winds, but a lot of rain that's coming along with it. Let's go ahead and take a couple different live looks here at this storm as we continue to track it. Some live pictures here showing us just some of the effects from the hurricane as it continues to land here. This is in Fort Myers, Florida right now. We do have our crews keeping a close eye on all the latest radars and the track of this storm. You can see, though, already here, not only do we have those white caps on the ocean, but you have that wind that is coming in and flooding already happening in multiple areas all across the state of Florida. Rain starting to fall all around the Florida Peninsula as well as we continue to keep our eyes on the very latest. Now, as Hurricane Ian is making landfall here, it is getting near that Category 5 strength. We do want to make sure we continue to give you our live coverage here with our Fox teams who have been keeping us up to date on the very latest with its tracks. So thank you again to everyone who's been watching here with us. Christy Larson here at the desk with you, but we're going to jump into a lot of coverage with our two Fox teams, Fox 35 in Orlando, also Fox 13 in Tampa Bay, as they have their reporters out there keeping us in coverage of what they are seeing happen over the state. I do want to let everyone know they're, of course, also keeping their safety in mind. So if there's ever anything that seems dangerous, they're going to pull those reporters off the roads. They're going to pull them out of those locations that are getting to be a little too extreme. And then I also want to remind our viewers, we are waiting for Ron DeSantis. So while we wait for the governor, let's go ahead and get some of the latest forecasts with our Fox weather teams as we head into our Fox 13 coverage right here for you. Well, actually, it looks like we do have some of our other officials walking in here with Governor DeSantis. Let's listen in live.
Well, this afternoon, Hurricane Ian is now making landfall in southwest Florida with winds of 155 miles per hour, and that is just shy of a Category 5 hurricane.
Oof.
155-mile-an-hour winds are incredibly dangerous. There will be debris in the air and flooding powerful enough to move cars around. So please do not be outside during this storm. If you're in those southwest Florida counties, you need to be sheltering.
That is definitely stronger than Hurricane Eva was.
Ian will produce hurricane-strength winds and massive floodings, not just where it makes the initial landfall, but throughout the state of Florida. So central and northeast Florida will also feel impacts. Now, while most people in the evacuations did leave, there were some that chose to stay. I was speaking with the sheriff down in Charlotte County, and while most people did leave, they had a small number of people that just wanted to hunker down. And at the end of the day, that's a decision they made, knowing that they had the ability to evacuate and knowing what the stakes were. Nevertheless, life safety operations will commence as soon as it's safe to be able to identify people who may be in harm's way and who are in need of assistance. And Kevin will say, I'll say a little bit about that, but Kevin will say more. We'll also hear from FWC about their efforts that they have staged and ready to go. If you are still in southwest Florida, just please stay inside until the storm passes. It may appear to be calm at some point. You may just be in the eye of the storm, and the backside of that will be very nasty. The storm is expected to move across central Florida and exit Daytona Beach sometime on Thursday. We've already seen around the state tornado warnings issued far from where the hurricane is entering in southwest Florida, and those warnings will likely to continue until this finally leaves our state. So even if you're not in the direct path of the storm, you need to take all tornado warnings seriously, and you need to take appropriate precautions if that is happening in your area. The Florida Department of Transportation has just announced that Fort Drum, Canoe Creek, and Turkey Lake service plazas on Florida Turnpike are now closed. Obviously, they will try to get those open as soon as they can. We have 200,000 power
I'll have to see if I can find some of that
throughout the state of Florida.
As they get closer,
Florida,
moving inland.
Crews are working to quickly restore
the
power.
bridge
of course, 200,000
over at
is a drop in the bucket for what's going to happen
St.
over the
Pete
next 24 to 48
was
hours.
just
There's going to be widespread
amazing.
power outages,
Watching the water,
in Southwest Florida.
it looked even worse than the one that we've got in the bottom right corner here with Miami.
Into the area once it is safe to enter. Once the storm is passed and it is safe to go outside, you still.
Okay, and it's time to reload again. You can do it. You can do it. Did Tampa Bay lose power?
Still need to be cautious.
There we go.
Avoid down power lines, standing water.
Okay, we're going to switch to the other one. It's the same news conference. And they're both reloading.
Director Guthrie has asked for additional airlift hoists and
Looks like I need to close some tabs again.
high water vehicles from DOD in coordination with FEMA.
You can do it.
The Secretary of Defense has approved Florida's request for dual status of our National Guard forces under Title 10 to provide additional forces, which we very much appreciate. We will also be submitting momentarily.
Come on.
A major disaster declaration for all 67 counties. We will request that the federal government reimburse 100% of the upfront cost for.
I'd be willing to bet it's not all the video. It's all the damn ads with all these web pages.
For 60 days to ensure that we can quickly recover and move forward into the response and recovery part. And
Wow. That's two of them down. Oh, sweet. Okay.
Boats there, one back there, already on its keel over. It may even be on the bottom. There are downed tree limbs throughout Punta Gorda. The wind is, as I said, picking up. I'm just going to give you a moment to listen to hear what the power sounds like right now. Here we go. So, Lester, for every person who is hunkered down in their home right now, as this hurricane is arriving in this location, that's what they're seeing, or that's what they're hearing. They may not be seeing this because they may have down, and that sound could be so... I will have to retreat to a safer place because with debris flying
down to help. Governor Bill Lee in Tennessee fast-tracked a request that we had from Tennessee. We appreciate that. I was also just able to speak with John Bell Edwards from Louisiana. They've helped us, but he said, hey,
there we go. And we're back. Holy crap.
So these guys are good. Ask us. We want to send more. And so we really appreciate that consideration. And if we need that, we certainly will do that. We also understand that people that are displaced are going to need assistance.
Working on it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hide this. Let's move Charlie's Landing up. And going to show you Nate, if we can get Nate up and running. He's showing some flooding. Come on, Nate, you can do it. Wow. Suddenly, so many of these are dying. Wow. It's not my internet connection.
I don't have a giant bag sitting in front of one of my monitors. Have we had storms that have been as strong as this hit Florida? Michael, Hurricane Andrew, Labor Day hurricane many, many decades ago.
All right. Which tab is yelling at me now? Now they all disappeared again. Awesome. So it must have been WFLA. Ruh-roh, Raggy. And none of my browsers are responding now. So that would be a memory issue. You know, I'm getting old and shit. Hmm. I don't want to have to set all of these up. Come on. Okay. I'm not even sure if this is going out. I can't verify it. So, I mean, it looks like I have audio going out and some videos going. I see movement in one. But since I usually track Twitch in a browser, my Twitch, it ain't coming through. Okay, that one's back. Let's see if we can get audio. Now, hourglass again. Fun, fun, fun. Okay, that's back. Martiniville. Okay, there's no movement there, but Charlie's looking crazy. And Tripler, I don't know if that's your side or my side, but with the other issues that I've got going on, I'm willing to bet it's my side. I've got too many tabs open. Whoa. Oh, looks like there's a Twitch problem. We are investigating an issue preventing some users from going live. Go figure, right? Trip, I'd be more inclined to say that this was my side than your side. Charlie's still going, so. And this is how I cratered last night and why I couldn't fix it while I was remote. I have 3 large screens, and doing it remotely on a mobile phone just isn't the optimal way of doing that, going about doing that. Okay. Not even sure if y'all can hear me. Not even sure if anybody's still left on the feed. We are addressing it, trying to get through. Okay. Wah, 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 wah. Well, I still got two screens that are showing up, and again, I have no idea if audio is coming through. I am still trying to work that problem. Well, okay, there we go. Okay.
To the impacted
All right,
facilities.
WFLA is back. Fun. All righty. Where did that one go? Okay, not that one. There we go. Come on. Edit. There we go. Come on. Okay. Still not coming in live. And again, I don't know if that is Tripler's feed or mine, but with all the problems on my feed, I would not be surprised if it wasn't me. My side.
And there's going to be people. I've already talked to a lot of the locals.
There's Charlie's Landing again. Thank you for sticking with me. We will get this sorted. Okay, that one's broken. Let's just close that window. All right. Buffering. Buffering. Bad gateway for one of the Siesta key. I'm losing Siesta key cams fast. That may have something to do with it.
I think.
Come on. Come on, Nate. Oh, come on.
Yes. Have we had big storms?
There we go.
Jackson now. Weekdays at 5. A little awkward about it because I wasn't really too.
Recently, this is really bringing both to the table. I mean,
Sure
you're going to
if I
have
got it correct
massive
or not.
amount of power hitting
Sometimes
that
I
coastline.
make
Okay. Getting better. Getting better. We ain't there yet. Really wish I could get Nate back, though.
really stupid mistakes. And even if I look over them, I still make stupid mistakes. So, I mean, I guess time will tell. I guess time will tell. But all in all, when you have 30 multiple choice questions or 30 multiple choice / true or false questions, and you have 2-word problem where you have to show your work questions, it's not bad. Heart and Soul with the 10, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Says I saw a news station bring up a crazy stat about Ian. With the rapid intensification of Ian, it raised its winds by 35 miles per hour in 2 hours when it's supposed to be measured in 24. Well, yeah. There is one thing that I can kind of say to counter that, though, and that the time period in between those 2 hours in which they raised it by, 35 miles per hour, there weren't any hurricane hunters inside the actual storm. So therefore, the verification method of that system very well could be that it was actually intensifying during a longer duration. But that is if it actually is verified at the end, which I do think it could potentially have a case. It could have a case to where it could potentially not intensify, I should say, but potentially have that note of, yeah, it probably did within that short period of time. Then we could be talking about something else. Speaking of talking about something else,
there we go.
Here is the eye. Here is the track.
This guy was pretty entertaining last night.
The hurricane
pretty
hunters as they went through Ian, and I mean you can just kind of see how well defined the system is, as well as the wind field here through flight level. I mean that is just immense. That is immense. That is insane. It is crazy. I mean, you can see those winds over here and upwards of 150 to 155 miles per hour on that western eye wall. And this storm has balanced itself out relatively well. And it still is really intense. It still is somewhat intense on its approach towards western Florida. It hasn't made landfall yet, but it's going to. It is 100%. We are probably within the next hour to hour and 30 minutes, depending upon how slow this system moves. We probably could see this thing making landfall here soon. This is in Fort Myers. This is from Caitlin Wright, Weather Caitlin on Twitter. And Fort Myers is one of the areas that are basically in ground zero. Basically at ground zero. We said it was going to be ground zero last night. We said it was going to be ground zero this morning right before I left for my exams and everything. And here we are now. At this point in time, where we've got a significant storm like that does damage like that. You can see the flooding going into portions of the houses. You can see debris flow through some of the water. Of course, cars are now starting to be overtaken completely by the flooding. And that's the reason why, if you're south of the eye, if you're south of the eye there, I mentioned that there's two areas that I'm the most concerned about. I'm concerned about areas on the southern side of the eye and then areas inland on the northern side of the eye. Alright, so on the southern side of the eye, you clearly see the reason as to why I was so concerned. I mean, the storm surge like that, there's just no other way around it. Here's some more storm surge here in Sanibel. Ocean not completely up towards this, I'm assuming this is a hotel pool front, but you can still see the water being pushed by some of the wind, and the residual water is making its way up the stairs and over towards some of the pool areas, which is this residual flooding here. So this is 100% storm surge. But this is 100% the reason why I was so concerned about areas south of the eye, because it's just relentless wind that is going to continue to pile on over and over again until it officially makes landfall. Now, interestingly enough, while I say this about the hurricane hunters and stuff like that, they have made a pass. They are making a pass through the eye right now. They have currently went through the northern side of the eye. They found extrapolated pressures of 935, and the minimum pressure is at 937.
Okay, I'm going to go
so
back.
That's very interesting, in my honest opinion.
Now that WFLA seems to be running okay, I'm going to get off Nate the Weather Nerd's audio for a bit.
There is a good chance.
Possibly 70, 80 miles per hour. Your winds are going to jump potentially up there to 100, 120.
Let me know if you want to go back.
We go through this northern eye in about 5 to 10 minutes from now. So I guess my advice to you and your crew is get to the safest spot you have. I know you got, I mean, Carrie is such a veteran at doing all this. They know exactly where to go. Carrie, explain to everyone how safe you're being and how you know where to go.
Yeah. Are here because we're going to get,
Yeah, Lester
is built out of concrete. It allows us to get up off the ground like 2-3 stories if we need to. But most importantly, it gives us a structure that protects us from the winds. And then, of course, we can always retreat into our vehicles. Now, most of the parking garage is full because there's a lot of refugees, people who said, oh, I'm going to ride this storm out. Then they changed their minds and said, not with the storm surge that we're hearing that's going to be far more than 9 feet. And so they pulled in, made their way into the parking garage where we are, along with several other media organizations. And, well, I'm going to run and get to the car here. Bill, we're going to do this. I'm going to cut out right now.
Yep.
Give you one.
I'm gonna go get my car.
And we're going to get into position because.
Yeah, we're starting to lose our shot there with Carrie as that northern eye approaching his.
You're
Punta
beating
Gorda
that
location
Wi-Fi
there.
up a little
Again,
bit, man.
That's right here. You see these bright red colors? Those are the thunderstorms with the northern eye that are about to move right over the top of him and our crew there. So we wish them the best as they head through the eye. And they should actually, in about an hour from right now, maybe 2 hours, be in the center of the eye. Carrie may actually be in the center with clear skies
Wow,
and
Captiva
sunshine.
and Sanibel are going to get hammered.
Safely, we will. With the first priority is to keep that whole entire
Batten
crew
down the
safe.
hatches, guys.
So why did we see the boats that were on the floor of the harbor? That's been the scene up the coast. Remember, all of these winds, even 60 miles per hour now at Tampa, so we're losing power once you get above about 50. That's blowing the wind out of all these bays and all the harbors. The wind on the south side is the wind that's blowing it inland. That's why we showed you with Allie in the Naples area, cars that have water on them, cars that were flooded. This is the highest water level ever measured in Naples from any storm in their recorded history. It looks like it peaked somewhere between 5 to 6 feet. So that's what 5 to 6 feet looks like. Obviously, you know, for the people that own these vehicles and everything else and the houses that had the water in them, it's catastrophic for them. But just try to picture what double that is going to look like. And that's what's heading in the next couple hours for Fort Myers and for Cape Coral in those areas. When they go through, once the eye passes inland, this backside, this bright red, the strongest winds over the water, when that comes on shore is when the water levels are going to rise very fast. So right now, the eye is finally arriving in areas like Fort Myers. So you've got the worst winds, and now you're starting to see pretty extreme wind damage. But the surge damage is going to trail that by a couple hours, just to keep you abreast of how that's going to play out. We mentioned that the winds are expanding. Tampa with that 60-mile-per-hour wind. So that's why we're going to have power outages, not just where the eye makes landfall, but pretty widespread right up through the I-4 corridor. The hurricane hunters. So these brave men and women go and fly into these storms for us. And by all reports from the hurricane hunters, they've been saying that it's the most extreme they have ever been into an eye of any hurricane. They fly into all of them. They flew into
that's
Michael,
why I was showing Nate, because
Ida,
Nate's been
they flew
reviewing.
Into Sandy, they flew into Katrina.
He's been reviewing a lot of those
dropped 1,000 feet.
hurricane
you ever been in an
hunters.
airplane and you have, you know, all of a sudden the turbulence and you drop like that? They dropped 1,000 feet. Can you imagine what that would have felt like? So the stories we're going to hear from this storm, the eye is just that intense, Lester.
Yeah, he's been.
This
Nate's
is an
been in the bottom right corner.
powerful
He's been
storm
doing a lot
that
of
is going
the
to change the lives of
hurricane
about
hunter
1 million
flights.
people.
He's been doing
It's
follow-ups
starting
with
now,
them.
and it continues during the day today. You know, it's very sad that all of these people, you know, hopefully have evacuated, and they're just waiting to see what it's going to be left. And we won't know. There's like a fog to war, I kind of call this, after all these hurricanes. We won't know tonight during the overnight hours when it's dark. It won't be till sun up tomorrow if we can get the helicopters up for everyone can finally, you know, take a look and see just how bad it was.
Yeah, Bill, I'm cocking my head. I thought I heard thunder in the background for where we are right now. You
Lester,
said something
you did.
that fascinated me, and maybe I've heard it. Yeah,
Lester,
that is thunder. Okay.
Lester, one of the things that's been amazing about this storm is the amount of lightning in the eye. So many people like yourself that are going to go through this, you will be hearing thunder in this red blob. The next time you come back to me, you hear some of the lightning strikes. You can see them right here. So there was one strike right here by Venice. You're located a little further up here towards the north, towards Bradenton, but you know, we're moving this around on you. But you can see these lightning strikes here. So yes, that is a threat with this storm, along with tornadoes, Lester, when you're near that eye. So we'll keep you abreast too of your your position to make sure you don't get caught in that eye wall also.
All right, Bill. And my attention is obviously in that picture in our lower corner. I don't know where that's coming from, but we see a fire in that particular picture. And remember, power lines. That's coming out of Naples right now. Don't know what's burning. It looks like it perhaps could be a power line down. Obviously, one of the big dangers of being outside doing anything like this is power lines snapping. Obviously, the hazard is apparent in those pictures, so we'll continue to watch that and perhaps gather more what we can. We'll be back with our special coverage here in Florida right after a short break. Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand, so we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
Good morning. Welcome to Today. I love mornings. They're full of possibility. And how you start your day sets the tone for the whole day.
We need to pull up one extra chair at the table.
We feel like we're right there with you. Because every day we start our morning so you can take on yours.
News is happening now.
Look at what's making headlines around the world.
Right now on Morning News Now.
We're coming on the air with breaking news.
And this is a significant moment.
Whenever it happens, wherever you are, NBC News, streaming free now.
Okay.
From Brooklyn, we're next to the subway station. The state's reservoirs are alarmingly low. War will pass them by.
News is happening now.
Look at what's making headlines around the world.
We're coming on the air with breaking news.
This is a significant moment.
Whenever it happens, wherever you are, NBC News, streaming free now.
You don't know when your moment's coming, but when it does, you take it. You get one beautiful life to live. What are you going to do?
This show is so fun, but having you as a positive force means really the world.
Jenna doesn't stop till it's sold, okay?
We have this circle of women that love each other.
I decided I'm going to go with the rhythm of life.
And you love riding the wave.
This is a moment we're in right now. This is really electric.
Yeah.
I love you too.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We're back from Southwest Florida, where Hurricane Ian is expected to make landfall as a powerful Category 4 storm, perhaps within the hour or two. Take a look at this fire from a downed power line. Hundreds of thousands are without electricity in the region. We've been seeing in the past few hours astonishing Hurricane Ian's wind and rain pushing storm surge inland, the highest water level from a storm ever measured in places like Naples, Florida. It is utterly catastrophic, a word we have heard a lot of as the storm has taken aim on Florida. Teresa Heitman is the Naples, Florida mayor. Mayor Heitman, we've been showing this video of a small fire in the streets of Naples. Also, Naples, the flooding in the streets. What are you hearing from your responders?
I'm sorry, hearing from Lester, I didn't hear
from
you.
your first responders.
It's severe. It's severe. And if you're on the first floor, you need to go to the second floor.
Wow.
Obviously, you can't even get out. So,
Naples,
we
go to your second
prepare
floor.
Everybody is to stay hunkered down. Receding waters keep going up as much as you can. Do not go into an attic. Right now is the time to get through this surge that we're having, which about 5 feet of water or more right now. And we still have another hour of high tide.
Are you getting 911 calls related to this, and are you able to respond?
Lester, the streets are flooded in downtown Naples, and the fire engine couldn't get out if they wanted to.
Come on, guys.
Is this flooding and the intensity of the storm more than you were expecting?
Yes. But I will tell you the county is sending over skiffs so that we can try and get to people through the skiffs that the county will provide for us. But it is not, I don't think anyone would have expected this, even though we said 9 feet. The surge is coming at us.
And we understand the surge will grow even after the eye wall passes through. So who knows how much more is coming. This is obviously a huge challenge. Is there a particular area of your community that you're most concerned about?
Everyone, and anyone in low ground, Lester, but low-lying areas are obviously, but our bay right now is meeting the ocean, and the water's just getting higher and higher, and the winds are picking up. So I can only say is just I just pray for our citizens and for the whole state as we go through this crisis together, because we're just the beginning of it.
And we're hearing now from the mayor of Naples, Florida. That is where we're seeing such stunning video coming at this hour. Streets already submerged. We know that power is already out to thousands of people here in Florida along the coastline as Hurricane Ian strikes with such vengeance. And right now we are here in the city of Tampa, and I have to tell you, this is the strongest wind that we have experienced so far today. Unfortunately, the worst of this hurricane isn't expected to be felt in this area until around 9 o'clock tonight to midnight. That is bad news. Under cover of darkness, we could be seeing the worst that this storm has for this massive metropolitan area that millions of people call home. We do know that earlier today, the mayor of Tampa told people that if you have already left, do not come back. It is not safe to do so right now. And that even though Hurricane Ian churned south to make landfall, she made a point that is so critical, and that is that this city is not out of the woods yet. There are already reports of flooding in low-lying areas. And while we will be seeing tropical storm force winds here, 70, 80 miles an hour, it will be a massive rain event here over the next 48 hours.
All right, we want to go to meteorologist Samara Theodore right now, who has an update on the position of the storm as it begins to make landfall. Samara?
That's right, Lester. We are now down to the final hour. We're starting to see that eye already encapsulate much of Captiva Island right now, and Sanibel's going to start to experience that as well. So while things may be starting to calm down in Captiva, do not be deceived. We're going to see that ramp up pretty soon here as the eye continues to cross. I want to talk about Naples and Bonita Springs. We're really seeing strong surge pushing in, and that's going to cause the waters to continue to rush and rise. And if we head farther north up towards Sarasota and Tampa, where we saw those visuals, you know, the rain is going to become a major issue for them. While we do have that outflow with the northern part of the hurricane, we are looking at a slow mover. 3 to 4 miles per hour. And because of that, we can expect anywhere from 20, 24 plus inches of rain moving through the region. Right now, Ian is still sitting at a Category 4 as it makes landfall. We're going to have more coming up. For now, Lester, back to you.
Samara, thank you. We'll be back with our special coverage here in Florida right after this short break. Tonight, I interviewed Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg about the ongoing delays. You seem to be pointing the finger at the airlines. They're pointing.
Back to Nate. Come on, Nate. You got audio? Speak to me, baby. Talk, Nate.
Mike, he's an
There it is.
idiot.
Yeah.
My gosh. He's on Boca Grande. And if you don't know where Boca Grande is, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
All right. I'll pull up the radar here for you all. Boca Grande at the moment is this portion of island right here. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It's this one right here. If I take off the radar, it probably will help. Yes, it is. It's this portion of island right here. And that storm chaser who got himself into trouble last year is on that island.
Special type of breed being a chaser, guys.
You hate to see that.
Stay safe, my friend.
You absolutely hate to see that. All right, let's see what reconnaissance found.
Here we go.
On the other side, about 120-ish, 125 mile per hour winds on the southeastern side.
So scaling back a little bit.
Eye wall relatively balanced out. Extrapolated pressure, give or take, of 934.6. So I guess we're really going to have to see. Was it Reed or Brad? No. It was Chicago Midwest who got himself into issues last year. Now, if he gets carried out to sea and stuff like that,
Come on, man. Wah,
a lot
wah,
of people are still
wah.
saying that this is... Oh, wow.
Sanibel Island's in the eye wall.
That is from Severe Studios. I'll retweet that if you want to see it. That's from Sanibel Island.
Come on.
Not heard from a source that decided to stick it out in a bit, praying that they are all right. Yeah, I'm praying too.
Be safe. Be safe.
Wow. Trying to look through, see if there's anything else. I don't think I do see anything. Yeah, I don't. So let's go back to the Inglewood camera, if it is still on. And it does look like it is fighting. Reed is fine, but Dominator 4 is swept away. Or it's,
what?
In his words, gone.
Oh. His vehicle's toast.
But from what I've heard, Reed is fine.
That's good.
Just a little bit more uncomfortable than usual.
Okay, that one's gone. I am reviewing sources, and I will be eliminating ones that have gone south. I can't keep the windows up because they're just eating up too many computer resources.
Camera's going to keep going in and out.
Yep.
This
I got the
over
same thing.
here was sent in from one of our viewers. I really do appreciate all the people who send stuff in, by the way. Just, of course, do it safely. All right? Don't go out there and start beating your chest saying, I am the hurricane and stuff like that. You know what I mean? That's from Lehigh Acres. East Lehigh Acres, which I believe is over near Fort Myers. You can see there's some localized flooding, of course some strong damaging winds within that area, and I am expecting those winds to increase here within the next probably 15, 20 minutes.
Well, that Siesta Beach one is back up and running. Nice. Yay.
Appreciate Karma for setting that in. I retweeted it, so if you want to see it yourself on Twitter, feel free to do so. Practically the majority of things that I see on Twitter, I'm going to retweet. So, if you want to see the stuff that I retweet, Twitter is the way to go.
To the thick of things is Brett Adair, who's near Port Charlotte.
Okay. All right.
Has it made landfall yet? Not quite yet.
We got Ryan Hall, y'all. He's up.
He's very close to the coast. It looks like it probably will make landfall here soon. That'll be across Cayo Costa State Park, from the looks of it.
All right, guys, I am going to have to, it is almost 1300 here in Dallas. I'm going to need to step away, take a break, recharge, reboot. I will be back probably in about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours.
Radar is having issues. Radar is 100% having issues.
But I've got to step away and take a break and get some real work done. I'll be back again in a bit. So thank you very much for hanging out. Need to give the computer a break. I need to eat. Bio break. And I will be back in a little bit. So thank you again. Keep your alerts on. Stay safe, whatever you do. Yeah, keep your powder dry. Take care, brothers. Bye.